Schambach, a question that has bothered me for many years is, we will see a great revival as we did in the early, the mid-40s, early 50s, right after World War II.
40s and 50s.
And then we'll see kind of a tapering off, and then God will revive again, and then we'll see it not just in healing, but in other things. What's this roller coaster?
I don't believe it's God. I believe it's the body. We are the ones.
Do we take it for granted then after a while and then neglect to pray or I don't.
Well, let me tell you this. I spent 5 years with A.A. Allen. And when God separated me from him, it was a divine separation. He was moving me. I cried. When Jack Coe died, Jack Coe was from Dallas.
Yes.
Brother Allen and I were in Hawaii when he died. I went down on Waikiki Beach that night and wept all night long. I didn't go to bed. I wept. I loved Jack Coe. And I asked God to let me take his place.
Really?
I did. I don't believe I ever said this on television. And I begged God. I said, one of your warriors has been shot down on the front lines. And I said, let me take his place. And just like you're hearing my voice, I heard God's voice. And he said this to me. He said, you're not ready yet.
Interesting.
Have you ever been rejected?
Yeah.
Like David. David wanted to build God a house. God said, oh no, I'm going to build you a house. God said, you are where I put you. And when you get ready, then I'll separate you. And when it came time for the separation, I didn't want to go. When you want to go, you're not ready normally. And when he prepares you, and then he sends you, then you're reluctant. Because Brother Allen took care of me financially. I had no burden. I mean, he had the burden. I was going along with the ride until you have to carry the load. And then I didn't want to go, but I did. And I'll never forget this, Paul. I went to the Coliseum in Chicago. And I rented that thing for a whole month. And I preached every day, twice a day for a month. And I've seen some great miracles. I took a truckload of canes and crutches and wheelchairs out of that meeting, people that have been healed and delivered. But it was in that meeting, and something in my life, I spend a lot of time, I love to pray for people. If there's 1,000 people that need prayer, I'll pray for them, all of them. And you see me do that. I've done it and done it and done it. And sometimes I would get so tired when I go back to the hotel that I didn't have time to pray. I was so tired and so weak. And I just plop out on the bed. I said, I'll see you tomorrow, Lord. Like you all do. We're all made out of that same junk.
Yes, yes.
And I go back, and I think many times, now I'm speaking as an evangelist. Sometimes we go on momentum, and you preach, but it's always God working with the man. Sometimes the evangelist, I can't speak for the pastor or the teacher, but sometimes the evangelist gets to a point where he thinks he's doing it. And God left me get by with that for about 3 nights. And on that 3rd night, I was so tired. I never even took my clothes off. I was soaked and wet, lying on that bed. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, a bright light came into that room. And I heard the voice of God. I never heard it before, an audible voice. Haven't heard it since. It's a special time. And I heard God's voice, and he called me and said, son. And I sat up on the bed. Thank God he still called me son.
Yes.
You know, that's refreshing.
Yes.
Just to hear him say son. And he rebuked me. in a gentle rebuke, he said, you are spending too much time with the people and not enough time with me. And willing to justify myself, I said, well, Lord, that's what you called me to do. He said, true. And these words I'll never forget. But he said, before you discharge a duty to your family or to people, you have a duty to me. And he says, you remember this and don't forget it. Without me, you can do nothing. Powerful words.
Yes.
And it's so true.
And you have not forgotten it, I see.
I never have forgotten it. But you know, I feel so gracious to God that he came to me at that early stage. Because there's a lot of men of God in those days that have fallen by the wayside. They've gone into business. They're not in the ministry any longer. But God came to me at an early stage and gave me that word. And every once in a while, my wife will say, remember what God told you. Thank God for a wife.
Oh.
The project. And without him, we can't do anything.